Welcome to King Said So, Africa's one land, one language, one currency, one army on King Said So. Africans can unite. Your Pan-Africanist podcast. Enjoy.
No, thank you, Chair. Want to take this opportunity to congratulate the newly appointed board of the NYDA, the appointed chair, the deputy chair, and all the board members. I think you did say, Chair, I'm sure they've hardly finished a month or they've just finished a month. So it's a fairly new board. So we won't have much really to speak to, just a few points that we'd like to cover. But we must send a warning to the new board chair that we're going to be watching them very closely, as we've done with many people in many interactions that we have. We hope that they have joined with the right intentions to develop the youth of South Africa. And we hope that they will be able to withstand the many pressures from politically interested individuals who have in the past wanted to use the NYDA to steal money that is meant to develop young people and redirect that money towards activities of their political parties and organizations. So it's still a honeymoon phase. I hope it's going to stay like this. Even my voice is softer. So we hope that we're not going to have issues. Just to start on, I'd be very interested for especially in the executive management, be it the CEO, the CFO, the directors, to explain to me this program of the NYS, particularly like at an administrative level. I think a lot of young people in South Africa don't actually understand what it does, how it does it, and those who would be interested to participate, where they can actually participate. So I think I'd be interested in trying to get a greater understanding on how that works, and also how do you track the impact? Because and maybe you'll correct me if I'm wrong here. In my understanding, you get a budget from the presidency through the YES or the employment scheme or something like that, and then you appoint administrators in the form of NPOs, who must then go and recruit young people to either participate as support staff or teachers and place them. So my question would be, I mean, how does that process work? But also, do we need the NPOs to go and recruit people to form part of this program? Or is this not something that the NYDA building internal capacity to be able to do it? Because that's where the stealing starts. We know these things. Government gives you 5,000 rand for every young person as a stipend, but because you've got this middleman, you've got this NPO whose job really is not to do anything. They then charge you a service fee of 2,000 or of 1,000. And then they give these teachers' assistants 4,000 or 3,500. And then when you try to check what is this 1,000 for that we're paying to these people, you can't really trace it. That's how they are stealing money at NSFAS. They've got 4 companies that are used to pay monies to landlords and to students. And then the question we ask them is, why don't you just pay these people directly? Because already you should have their database. I want to believe the NYDA should have a list of these odd, I think you said 40,000 or something like that, people who are currently going through the NYS. And you'll find that if you cut out the middleman, you are actually going to have access to more money so that you're able to onboard more young people. But like I said, I don't understand it, so maybe CEO, you'll take me into confidence and the many young people in South Africa. The other thing I wanted to speak to on slide 16 on your grant sectors and all of that, I don't think we must celebrate this thing that we're giving salons and car wash a lot of money. When we've actually have so many intelligent young people in South Africa who are coming up with so many innovative and modern technical ideas that are driving innovation and that are also aligned with the global standards in terms of the science and technology and the direction that the world is taking. Like, you can't have an NYDA that is supposed to be led by young people who are dynamic, that is celebrating that in our grants, the biggest beneficiaries is car wash and salon. I'm sure when the youth in China listen to that, we become a laughing stock. Like, really? That's what you came up with? Like, you give the car wash grants, and then you celebrate that as something that must be. So, please, I think we really need to move away from that. There are young people in farming. I see here, this is good. There are young people in manufacturing. There are young people in construction. There are young people in engineering, young people in health, young people in tech. Let's try to move away from that archaic way of doing things, which, by the way, is also another way of stealing. Because half of these car washes that are receiving money from the NYDA are either non-operational. And I don't remember the last time I saw a young South African running a salon. You may prove me wrong. I don't remember. This morning I just came from cutting my hair. Because it was early, I had to look for a number of barbers. I can tell you now, out of the 4 or 5 that I tried to knock in, I didn't find a young South African who was cutting hair or doing hair. So even as a salon in Asfanda, really, I think it's questionable. But again, this is not for the new board. It's a legacy thing that I want you guys to really look into. The second last point that I'll want to make is that I agree with the sentiments of the former speakers. We need to try and, by all means, to make the NYDA more accessible, especially in your rural and township communities. You see, you are going to operate in a very difficult environment as a new board because there's a huge trust deficit between the NYDA and the people of South Africa in general. And you can't blame them because there's history to prove that. Like, people just don't trust you. Chair, I mean, you just entered office, you have not done anything wrong, already we don't trust you. Because we have a history with the NYDA and how the NYDA has been used when it comes to appointments to certain posts. People put their friends, people put their comrades, people put their family members. So you must appreciate that you then have to work extra hard, not just to democratize it and be seen to be opening up, but you must be seen to be doing it as well. So it's not enough to simply say, no, but we open up, we advertise, we do all of this, we try to make this thing. Like, you must take a deliberate decision that you must be seen to be opening up the NYDA to ordinary young people who are not politically connected, who are not ANC, who are not EFF, who are not any, just ordinary young people in our communities that would like to seek support from the NYDA. And the last point, because the chair, it was not in my notes, but you mentioned it, so I thought I may as well bring it up. So I think the big issue that South Africans had with the Scorpion Kings partnership was not necessarily the partnership itself, but the issue they have, number one, of course, is that they are not sure how the people who participated would have participated in that program. And again, that's an offshoot of the trust deficit that you have lost as an entity over the years. Not necessarily you guys as individuals, already if you come out and say we've got 50 people that we've given 50,000 or whatever, already the assumption is that you have given that money to your friends. So there's that trust problem. So when I say you must be seen to be, it means you must go the extra mile in demonstrating some form of transparency and accountability every time you do these things. But secondly, the other thing is that they perceive you to wanting to be aligning yourself with big brands and big enterprises and big events, when you should actually be taking Scorpion King's minds to the villages. We don't have a problem with the NYDA partnering with DJ Maphorisa or DJ Kabza. Those are legends in the industry. And we do also believe that you guys must play a role in the creative arts. But as opposed to wanting to opportunistically jumping on the bandwagon, you take those minds, you take those expertise, and then you take them to Limpopo, you take them to the villages in KZN, you take them to Eastern Cape, you take them to Alex. I'm sure no one, it's not that, because now it's like we don't like Amapiano, we like Amapiano. Unfortunately, we couldn't attend, but we would have loved to attend. But I don't think people have a problem with NYDA assisting. But if the narrative had been, we went into Tembisa somewhere, we found a group of 5 or 10 boys who don't have a studio, they don't have headphones, they don't have CDJs or whatever, and then we went inside there and we tried to assist them with tools of trade. I think that is a much stronger message than wanting to jump on the big partnerships. Of course, the big partnerships are very important because that's likely where the capital is going to flow from, brands and all of that. But the point that we want to make, when you clarify to us, CEO, what was that about and what it entailed and how did you go about in doing it? I think the main message here is that let us go and empower these forgotten young people who are not in the mainstream, and then let's try to bring them in the mainstream. And then if we've got a relationship with people who are influential in the mainstream, let us try to capitalize on our relationship. If you've got the phone number of DJ Maphorisa, comrade CEO, call Maphorisa and say, hey, Muna, there are some Likompo artists in Limpopo. They would love if you could come in and, run a workshop with them, and then we support it and all of that. As opposed to wanting to be seen to join the bandwagon because it's a big event and all of that. So I think I'll hold it there, Chair. But yeah, so please clarify that point for me. And then also the issue of the NYS. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Lonzi. I think when you clarify the point around the national use